Hello and welcome to Phoenix Cinema Podcast Film Club, where a community of film nerds just like myself gather to rate and review films of our choosing. Why? Because we love movies and we love talking about them with each other most of all. Joining me today is our fellow film geek, Hannah Tavares. Nice to have you, Hannah.
Glad to be back.
As always, glad to have you. And my good friend, thespian, playwright, Will Charlton, joining us again. First time on Film Club, but you have joined the podcast before, haven't you? To talk
Yeah,
movies.
I think we did F1 last time.
F1, yes. Fucking Best Picture nominee. Yeah. No one gave a shit about it, but it was there.
Winner now.
Huh?
The best sound winner as well. So
Oh yeah, best sound winner. Yeah, I saw it in IMAX, and to be fair, that was the sound is fantastic, and the score. And that voice you just heard is Zalan, Pall, the manager of Phoenix Cinema, joining us once again. Zalan, pleasure to have you back, sir.
It's a pleasure is mine. I'm glad to round up the usual suspects.
Yes, indeed. Well, today we will be talking about the classic film Casablanca from 1942 because Will chose it for us to discuss today. As I've already mentioned, Luke isn't here, so I'll do what Luke usually does and I'll read a synopsis. This is very brief. A cynical expatriate American cafe owner struggles to decide whether or not to help his former lover and her fugitive husband escape the Nazis in French Morocco. Yeah, basically sums it up. Will, let's throw it to you straight away. You chose this movie, so why? What's your relationship with it?
Oh wow, that's a question. I chose it because it's widely regarded, I think, as one of the greatest movies of all time. And I would, having not seen the film for about 2 years now, I agree with that sentiment. I do think it's, you get those compilations of like 100 movies to watch before you leave your mortal coil. I think this is one of those films. I think there's very few films that I would describe as perfect. And I think this is one of them. And my relationship with the film, it really actually started. I briefly lived in Los Angeles about 3 years ago now. So when I lived there, I lived in Glendale, which is very close to Burbank, which is where they have the Warner Brothers Studios, which is where the film was entirely shot. I sort of learned a lot about the film being around the area. And then just last year, I found myself in Morocco, in Casablanca, where I went to Rick's Cafe, where they have they've built a sort of, Rick's Cafe. And just that you can feel the sort of reverence they have, both in Los Angeles and in Morocco. You can feel the reverence they have for both movies and this particular film. And I just think that you kind of feel that just watching the film anyway on the screen. And I think it's just wonderful to have that sort of picture to talk about.
Wow. God, you probably have the best connection to this movie then out of all of us. You've been to Rick's Cafe in Casablanca.
I wish I was in it. I'd prefer to have been in it. That'd been nicer. I wish I was, I wish I'd had the life of Humphrey Bogart. Yeah, definitely. But it's a close second, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah, close second for sure. That's great. That's great, man. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So yeah, clearly you adore this film. Hannah, what about you? What your relationship to it? You've seen it before. Your thoughts?
Yes, I've seen it, I believe at least 20 times. Sorry, no.
20 times.
At least twice before. I was in my early 20s when I seen it, when I was at university in Boston, as part of our curriculum. Can't remember which film curriculum it was, but I was glad to have seen it on a slightly larger screen, because we're in an auditorium-like space. I remember writing a paper on it. I don't have access to my old papers from university, but I would have loved to have known what those notes were, just as a reference and also a frame of reference for how I interacted with it then versus now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can find it. Maybe I can follow back up. But same. I've known it as a classic, as one of those films that people recommend you see while you can, as in while you're alive. I'm thinking of Will's Mortal Coil comment, which was great. And I do agree. I do also agree. It's one of those films that is hailed as one of those perfect films. And yeah, nothing more to say besides when we jump into comments.
Sure. Cool. All right. Lovely. Yeah. Zalan, what about you?
I mean, it's always difficult when you kind of going into a film, learning a lot about it beforehand. So whether it lives up to your expectations, and obviously for me, coming from Hungary, we're talking about a film directed by an American-Hungarian person, but obviously that was a Hungarian director. Basically, he was born in Hungary, so already I was going into
Curtiz is
this.
Hungarian. Wow, I
Yeah,
had no idea.
I mean
Wow.
Hungarian American. So he was born in Hungary. He made like 60 odd films in Europe, and then basically signed by Warner Brothers, moved to America and became an American citizen. But still, obviously, me personally going in there, I heard a lot of things about this film. About it, it's a classic, and it's always difficult to see. Okay, well, it, can it live up to your expectations? When something
Yeah.
regarded an all-time classic, and I have an interesting relationship with this film because I liked it. I think it was great. I understand. I understood why he's getting those accolades, but it wasn't until a few years back when we actually at Phoenix we showed the 80th anniversary. So I watched it again and then think, okay, well,
Wow.
how do I look at it now? A bit more mature person than I was on a first time. So how did it age? Because sometimes you're afraid to watch your childhood classics again because it's like, oh my god, is it? Do I'm gonna have the same affection to that movie? And for this one, it's actually, I have to agree what you guys said. Sometimes the films that like universally loved and objectively considered one of the best, and you're thinking like, is it actually personally? Do you feel that way? And I must admit that I do. I think it is one of those kind of miracles when the script and the acting and directing and the time and everything just kind of smoothly, melts into this incredible experience.
Yeah, nicely said. Yeah. It's I agree. I mean, it's definitely one of the like you said as well, Will. It's so highly regarded. You hear about it as, oh, this is one of the greatest. And I remember the first time I saw it was when I was in acting school in New York, and they had every Monday after classes they would project a film in a class, and they'd have a hello.
Oh, that's a lovely
Who's
cat there. Oh, wow.
That's a wonderful. Sorry, I deserve to be interrupted by this gorgeous thing. What's remind me what's their name?
That is mingau, which means porridge in Portuguese. And his brothers are,
Amazing.
yeah, he looks like sweet corn porridge because he's kind of a yellowish cat.
Oh,
He's got one.
Mingao. Oh, gorgeous. Oh, one eye. Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. Nice to meet you, Mingao.
This is how acting by scene stealer, right? This is how it works, right? When you have a
this is
scene
see
stealer.
that is Claude Rains right there. But yeah, so they would screen these films that they think the faculty thought, us young students should see. And we watched Alien. It was one of those screenings. The issue with the films that they showed and where my head was at the time is that I just wasn't interested. in anything they were showing us. And I don't know why. I think it's because I'd had a long day. I'd had a lot to think about. There's lines to learn. Your head's about what's coming up tomorrow in classes and all this kind of stuff. And also who's in the room with me. I'm talking to my mates and I'm interacting with everybody. And it's a room full of, 20 years old and younger acting students. No one's paying attention. So they screened it. And I don't know what happened because I sat there for the whole film. I don't remember anything. I just remembered the ending with on the runway, and here's looking at you, kid. That's it. So I blocked this movie. I remember I just didn't give a shit about it when I first saw it. I think I was bored. I didn't care. So I'm so glad, Will, that you chose it because it was an opportunity to actually sit down and focus and watch this film. And it was like it was the first time. And yeah, it's a good film. I really liked it. I was a bit worried at first. I think it is a bit slow. I don't know if you guys will agree with me on that. I think it's quite slow. And I was hoping that I would, because the film is just full of dialogue. It's a dialogue heavy movie, and that's what pushes the movie forward. I was really hoping that I would get it and I'd be able to follow it, and I could. And I thought the story was quite affecting, but that ending, wow, that ending is, I think, what makes the movie for me. It's a knockout ending, and I feel like Curtiz himself as a director, I mean, it's very simply filmed, right? It's just a basic setup. You set up the camera, you shoot it. And then at the end, he's doing a lot of movement, right? He's pushing in to their faces. He's whipping the camera around. He really adds to this sense of movement and excitement, to that whole thriller aspect of the ending when they're trying to escape. So yeah, that I really appreciated. And I watched this with Carrie Ann last night, and she really loved it too. Which is good. She's usually a good barometer of how the movie's going to go. Or she'll just leave the room and I'll love it anyway, But yeah, so let's get into the specifics of the cast and crew, and that will give us an opportunity to talk about those things. So the composer is Max Steiner. He was Austrian. So I had, another European turned Hollywood great. He's a legendary composer who did hundreds of American film scores. Gone with the Wind, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. I mean, Jesus, you're talking big stuff here. Oscar winner. He won 3 Oscars. Did he win 3 Oscars? Yes, he did. He did. And nominated for so many more. But just to have a look at what he won for. So he won for a movie called The Informer. That's 1935. And then his second Oscar was for Now Voyager. I haven't even heard of these films. And the third one was Since You Went Away. Again, haven't even seen it. And he was nominated for an Oscar for this, of course. And I think deservedly so, right? I think the music is quite lovely. It's iconic, isn't it? But
it sets the tone for the film. That's how, we usually, these old classic Hollywood films, you get right. The sort of like, this template intro usually, and then you're thinking like, oh, well, you could skip, like 3 minutes, 4 minutes. But with this one, it already adds to, the atmosphere. It's a great, catchy song to start with. And obviously there's a lot of iconic elements, not just, we talk about the ending, the cast, the one-liners, and so many things, but the music as well. There are probably the most famous scene in the movie is relating to, the music. So, it's one of those elements that you could tick the box that it's just absolutely stunning all the way through the movie.
Yeah, and that theme is As Time Goes By, right? That's the name of the song. Was that originally just an original song, or was that done for Casablanca, or it wasn't, right? Oh, it looks like it was its own song. and then they used it, and it's Casablanca that made the song famous. Oh, that's good to know, because I honestly I didn't know whether it was original or what, but Steiner really incorporates that theme, doesn't he, into the score, and it's it's really, really lovely. And so, okay, so for cast, there's no point looking at producers, I don't think, even though they may have been big producers of the time, but I don't know this time at all. So, Humphrey Bogart in the lead role. I don't know if I've ever seen Bogart in a movie before. I haven't seen the classics. I haven't seen The African Queen. I haven't seen The Maltese Falcon, The Harder They Fall. I haven't seen these films. So there's a lot to discuss and a lot to watch, truly. But what did you guys think of his performance? Because I found him to be quite odd, just in terms of like how you would think a leading man would be. He seems very mumbly. He doesn't have, I don't think, conventional leading man good looks. He's got sort of this hangdog feature to him, which really works. I think he looks haunted, but I also was like, he's very strange. And there's a scene where he's drunk, and I was saying to Carrie Ann, I was noting, like, listen to his cadence. Listen to how he's delivering these lines. It's a little, and she went, yeah, he's drunk. And then in the next scene, when he's sober, he's delivering the lines the exact same way. So, it's interesting. His mouth doesn't move too much, but I think he's fine. I don't know if he's great in the movie. I think he's fine. I was very confused as to who is he? Like, yeah, he's Rick of Ricks, but who is he? What does he do in his life? You hear his backstory that he sold guns, once to whomever, and he has a past, but I don't understand who the fuck he is. If anyone
there's a mystery
can break
about
that
it,
down
isn't
for me.
it? There's a little bit of mystery
Yeah,
about
yeah.
him, but I liked how they kind of, like he usually when it comes to, that's why I think it's a lot of things that you could note about this film as well when it comes to the script as well, because it's already, like universally, a lot of people think that it's one of the greatest screenplays ever written, and there are a lot of elements you could teach in schools as well. But usually the main characters, they come in early on, but it's kind of, there's a delay, and then I love the reveal, and then he comes into play as well. And the whole film is about his mystery. That he's the guy who's kind of like the glue in this particular storyline. But I think that's a beauty about it, is to get sort of layers of him, like, okay, what is this guy, and then how is he gonna act? Because there's a little bit of surprise. You don't know whether is he going to help, is he going to
That's
be
true.
an obstacle, is he a hero, is he an anti-hero, where is he set?
Right.
And it's I personally, I like this element, but I appreciate that for some viewers that might be confusing, and there, because there's no clarity about it, that could, you might just interpret it in a different way.
Yeah, I think 100% you're right, Zalan. Yeah. And I don't know if I disliked it. I guess it was there. It was at the forefront of my mind. But yeah, you're so right. I mean, he's so mysterious, and you are always wondering. You're right. It does kind of keep you on your toes, because you're wondering what he's going to do next. And actually, it's quite bold, I think, to place a character like that front and center as your leading character, especially when you compare him to Victor Laszlo, played by Paul Henreid. And I think the easiest thing to do from a writing point of view is to make Victor Laszlo a bit of a dick, right? I mean, because he shows up with Ilsa, and Ilsa is the ex to Rick, and she's gorgeous, and she's stunning, and she's clearly the lead female actress of the movie, which means, come on, Rick and Ilsa got to get together by the end of this movie, right? So the easiest way to make that happen, I think, would be for Victor Laszlo to be an absolute prick. It makes the audience, our sympathies are going to lie with Rick, and we're going to root for them. And that's not the case. I thought that was so smart. That's not the case. Victor Laszlo is the hero. Truly, he is such an upstanding man. And even his, he's smart enough to understand, hang on, there's something happening here between these two. And I love that. It would be so easy to have three people in a scene and have these two characters, Ilsa and Rick, have such history with each other, but this third one over here is oblivious because we're playing to the camera. No, he's in that space and he knows there's something up, but he never challenges her on it. He never, ever goes after her on it. He's just like, I get it. You don't have to explain anything to me. And it's like, wow, you're fucking perfect, aren't you? So yeah, to make him to muddy up the main character like that, and to make his backstory quite murky and his intentions murky. There's such a juxtaposition, right? Where Victor Laszlo at one point says to her when she's like, listen, me and Rick, he's like, you don't have to explain anything to me. Anything you say, I'll believe you. He leaves, Rick enters, and Rick's like, I'll fucking never believe anything you say. Don't even try it. And it's an immediate like contrast. And I think that was quite funny and quite nice. Yeah. Humphrey Bogart, Oscar winner for the movie The African Queen, directed by John Huston. Haven't seen it, but I would love to. And yeah. Any other thoughts on Mr. Bogart?
Ooh, I saw him first in The Big Sleep, where he was opposite his, I don't know if he was already married to her or not, later wife. And I saw him in Sabrina. I think I always thought of him as sort of like, I knew the name, imagined him to just be an iconic, like, leading man of that, but without understanding what genre or anything that he was. He's not conventional, I don't think, by any means. He has all those characteristics you guys have expressed and listed. And also he's quite short. He was 5'8". I forget where
Really?
that comes up sometimes. And talking about like where they're boxing him, or giving him like an apple box in some scenes, like opposite certain leading ladies because he's shorter. But like he's not a charismatic lead in this film, at least his character isn't, but it's very grounding and mysterious. I don't know, he seems kind of like not untouchable. I really don't know how to describe his character, to be honest. But there is an essence to Humphrey Bogart, and there's such a weight to his name all these years later, that does make it for an interesting watch. And always watching films that are completely out of a modern era, like 90s on, I think there's like a certain style of acting, a realistic form of acting, that did not exist in the 30s and 40s, during his heyday. So understanding what then and now is still considered like a great film or ensemble, it's I don't know, just a trip down like understanding the history of the format. And it's always interesting to see what choices were made and what cuts made it into the film. So yeah, overall, it's just interesting and nice to be able to sort of spend some time watching someone who's become so well known after all these years.
Yeah, totally agree with
I think
that.
there's always an element, I think personally, that like to me, he is like a movie star. And sometimes you can have a distinction about how you rate someone as an actor and how you rate someone as a movie star. And and that comes with the on-screen, appearance and the character and the charisma you have. And I think what you mentioned, Hannah, I think that shines through, that it's kind of, he's a unique character, but he kind of played all these like really witty characters, always like a bit cynical, he had this kind of charm, and in a way, like if you analyze it, maybe a lot of people could say that, okay, well, he, because he's a movie star, and then he was, in this golden age when that was the sort of a template, and people really buying tickets for the actors. The actors are selling it, and a lot of, if you write articles about the decline of Hollywood this day and age, one of the main reasons is that we don't have, we have very, like, maybe just a handful of superstars globally that you could say,
No,
that the
yeah,
Tom Cruise, a
yeah.
Brad Pitt, and a Leo. But then is there are a lot of like well-known actors right now. They can't open a film on their own. It's not like, oh
Mm-mm.
wow, this person is in there, come and watch my film. So, but he was that
Yeah.
kind of character, and then obviously that comes with somewhat with a baggage as well, because when you're a superstar, you kind of, and I think in this film as well, there were a lot of issues during shoot, and there were a lot of lines improvised and stuff, and I'm pretty sure that some of that relates to his stardom as well, that he wanted to be portray himself in a certain way, but it actually, for this particular movie, I believe that
Mm-hmm.
works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're right. And it always makes me fascinated to watch films from this era and watch the players of this era, their names, who were they? What choices did they make? Why? Why were they as big as they were compared to our modern day era? Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I mean, if I can
Um,
recommend one film, if you want to watch something like it, obviously
please.
people talk about The Big Sleep and Marty's Falcon and African Queen, but personally, of the films I've seen, Dixon Steele, the character he plays, like a screenwriter who's quite unstable and a bit violent. So there's a film called The Lonely Place, 1950. So I think you might, if you watch, all his other films as well, I think this is the one where you're thinking, oh, okay, that's something, and acting wise, that is, potentially an
Ooh, really?
amazing way. So personally, I think, that's his best role. But I mean, there are obviously
Oof.
so many other classics as well that
Very nice. Yeah, oh my God, I need to do a deep dive, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I need to do a deep dive. The Lonely Place, I've heard of this. Yeah, haven't seen it. Directed by Nicholas Ray. Let's just get to it here in this thing, in this film club. Why not? Yeah, because that would be amazing. Uh, cool. Yeah, and so he's acting alongside Ingrid Bergman. I honestly thought she was the daughter of Ingmar Bergman. I even said as much to Carrie Ann last night. I was like, "That's Ingmar Bergman's daughter." Like, I know shit, and I just
yeah.
I
and
love
she's
you
not.
admitting to it.
Yeah, yeah. I have to throw my hands up. Uh, they just have the same surname. That happens. um, but yeah, I think she is. Oh my God. I mean, yes, she's stunning. She's beautiful. She's stunning. But oh my God, on camera, she's something else. She won 3 Oscars, one for the movie Gaslight, one for Anastasia, and one for Murder on the Orient Express from 1974. Um,
And they're not even her best performances. Like, that's a funny thing, but it's often the case
right,
sometimes.
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Massive, massive, star. And you can see why. Yeah, I thought she was. Yeah, I thought she was quite lovely in this. I thought she was quite wonderful. I don't really. Again, like I said, I couldn't take my eyes off of her. But it's yes, it's absolutely to do with her beauty, but it's also because she's got such an inner life. And I don't know if it's the black and white photography. I don't know if it's the lighting, but her eyes when
Yeah.
she's in close up, they are when they're full of tears, it's like they are sparkling. I mean, it is, oh my God, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah. And if you're going to choose an actress to really make you believe that this guy lost something and has been pining over that loss for many years. Well, yeah, she's the one to do it. Yeah, I thought she was superb. I thought she was really a lovely anchor in the film. Um,
And the chemistry between the two, I think it's one of the main reasons why usually when it comes to a love story, that obviously has to be working, right? Because if there's issues between the, there's, if you can tell that
yeah,
there's like a good chemistry, and obviously it's
right.
a great pairing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because so at the end of the movie, she shows up to Rick's room and says, "Look, if you can sort out these transit papers, these fucking transit papers, man. The whole movie, I was like, what are these papers that these Germans had?" And it's like, oh, they're exit visas, kind of. But then they say exit visas about 100 times in the movie as well. So you've got exit visas, and then you've got transit papers. Are they two different? I couldn't wrap my head around what these papers were, why Rick has them, why they need them. Then only by the end, I was like, oh, okay, they need these to get out of the country. I'm assuming. Yeah, that's it. That's the reason.
Well, that
So
was the
yeah,
kind of the
she
currency at the time. Yeah,
the
in terms of
currency.
movement. Yeah, like in terms of
Uh-huh,
you
right.
needed these if you wanted to have movements across the world. It's kind of like gold at the time. If you got one of these, the
Ah,
value of it was so, because you start your life. Like if you don't have these, like that's but that was, I guess, it sums up the era as well. I mean, we're talking about Second World War,
yeah.
so it's a middle of the war.
So so then, Zaylan, who were these papers intended for, or did these German couriers or whoever they were die, and they just happened to have transit papers on them, and then that's what became the commodity? Or were they always intended for Rick? I was always confused at that.
I mean, it's quite, like every transit paper was different depending on the country you lived. But during the war, it's kind of like a level of diplomacy involved. But that it's, if you needed to move from one place to another, you need to obtain these things. But that's like, if you try to bring it back for locally, for let's say in England, London, you had transit papers as well for, let's say, just shelter reservations, or specific wartime, like if you wanted to get onto certain buses, or it was the way you could travel from one place to another, and that was the system at the time. And that was obviously, you need to be issued by certain people. So if you knew someone higher up, and then you needed
Hmm.
to secure someone's. I'll give you an example. But there are Hungarian players at the time getting transit papers to leave Hungary, to play for Real Madrid. They needed to get obtain, and obviously, okay, well, you're a star player, you go to get these things because you have a name, but it trickles down in a way, and then yeah, that was a kind of like a move currency of movement. That's the best way I could explain, probably, that in
Wow.
order for you
Okay.
to make movements during that period of the time, these
Mm.
were, necessity.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I've understood it just like it's a form of population control, so you know who's where. Even during COVID, I'd heard that from a friend who was living in France, that they were trying to issue out things so that you could, like, they could contain COVID to different sectors of cities. So they're like, you
Mm.
can't go 400 meters away from your designated spot, and having curfews. It's just like another form of controlling
Hmm.
population and movement, and limiting like the movement, especially of like characters that you don't want moving around. I don't think in the film Casablanca that they do expressly say that they are for somebody. I think it just became known
Hmm.
that these German soldiers had these transit papers, so it was a highly coveted item.
Oh,
Uh,
right. Right.
if you
Yeah.
just also think of it as a political thing, like they're trying to take Laszlo, they want to take him back to do their own torturous stuff. And you'd still need to have those people approved too. So just a mysterious
Mm-hmm.
use for whatever the Nazi party wanted is how
Okay.
I've understood all these years.
Okay. That helps actually. Yeah, that really clarifies a lot actually regarding that. So yeah, thank you, Hannah and Zalan. That's great. Yeah, no, she shows up at the end and she says, "Look, can you please just give us the papers, but just give him
Right.
the papers. Give Victor, yeah, and I'll stay with you because I'm not leaving you again. I love you. I'll stay with you." And there's an ambiguity to that, right? It's like, is she telling the truth? And at the very end, and he doesn't do that, right? He gets it for the both of them, and he sets the whole thing up to allow them to leave. And even Claude Rains, the captain, says, "Oh, you're a very sentimental person." And he flips it, right, and says, "That story you just told Victor, that wasn't the truth, was it?" So, did you guys have any feelings about Ilsa's character at the end and what she actually really wanted to do? Did she really want to leave with Victor? Did she want to stay with Rick? Like, ultimately, yeah, what was her real intentions there at the end?
I mean, it's the love triangle, isn't it? Like that. That it's an element of. There's a lot of layer to it as well, because then obviously, what all your own feelings towards a person, and then the importance of it, because obviously Laszlo is the leader of the rebellion, so somewhat like his freedom, or his success, like whether it comes down to the question that, like, what is important to you, like to her character, is her own personal feelings or the success of like the revolution, or the movement. And that is the kind of like he finds herself in between, because we had this fling in Paris, which is hard to forget for her. So she kind of finds herself in between the two. And obviously, in the beginning, it helps her that Rick is not really nice to her, So that makes it easy
Yeah.
for her. But then, quite dramatic relationship, because at one point there's a gun, like held against him. So, that is a lot of
Yeah.
tension between the two, right? Like, and then you thinking like, okay, well, can you do that? Like, what makes you pull a gun on someone? That you must have like very strong feelings, whether it
Hmm.
goes either
Hmm.
way, right? But usually they say you hurt the people you love. So yeah, it's a very complex situation, and it's kind of, I think that's what makes it interesting in this film. But I also, it brings up questions. So everyone can have different interpretation in a way, probably, that what you think the character is feeling in the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, for sure. Considering the film is in 1942, I think as we're talking about it, I'm realizing she's such a richly written character. You're right. There's so many layers for her to play. There's such an inner life for her. It's actually a really hard role to play. Really, really hard. Um, and what if it's meant to be ambiguous as to what she really wants to do at the end there? Well, you never get the sense that Ingrid Bergman doesn't know. You know what I mean? She knows. And that really comes through. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So
also,
ultimately maybe it doesn't even really
yeah, the question is
matter, I
that
was gonna say.
what is she actually? That's the beauty. That's what I like about films, when the the audience have more information than some of the characters. Hitchcock used this technique a lot, and you could say in this one that when she says that he loves Rick, does she really feel that way, or she says it because she
Right.
knows she needs to get those letters?
Right.
So that's it
Right.
leaves you to kind of make that call, that okay, is this a great romance we're seeing, or is she kind of using a little chess movements in the shadows to get what she wants?
Mhm.
And I think she plays it beautifully in terms of like this kind of probably inner battle with herself, that I need this person's favor, but I also hold on a second, like I you know, there are feelings that I have to she has to deal with as well.
Yes, well, so well said, Zalan. Yeah, so well said. Yeah, totally. And I'm just realizing now how much of this cast, by the way, is like European. You know, down to the director, like you said, Zalan. I didn't realize of Hungarian heritage, but Ingrid Bergman being
Hmm.
Swedish. Paul Henreid, who plays Victor Laszlo, was born in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Wow, you know, it's like I had no idea. I would have thought he was just British, you know.
I think there's only like two
But
or
yeah,
three.
he was.
I
What's
think there's
that?
only like two or three that are American in the entire thing. Obviously, you've got Humphrey, and then you've got Dooley Wilson, who plays Sam. I think there might be another one, but yeah,
Yeah, you
there's
know
really
what?
and I think that's the amazing thing about it because it's exclusively shot in California, entirely shot in California. They don't film. I mean, they film I think one scene at an airport in Los Angeles, but they don't leave the country to shoot it at all. But there is a very authentic non-US feel about it, which is really lovely as well.
That's so
Yeah.
unique. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Peter Lorre. I had no idea Peter Lorre was
Yeah.
Hungarian. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's a lot of and
Claude.
yeah, a lot of all of them. They were kind of and they and it's you might know about this, but that scene that it's considered the most iconic one, that La Marseillaise one, apparently was so authentic because everyone in there, they were real expats. Like the people you see in there, they not just singing that in terms of like because that's what the job is and that's what the role is. They were really like singing it because that was the anti-Nazi, like sort of like they were all feeling like we're talking about all these people probably had to leave Europe because they know
Mm,
that there's a war and they try to find new life, and sort of like they are the privileged in a way because they all had families. I mean, even the director had families in Hungary who during that time,
mm,
so had to leave behind. And it's always even the role itself, like when you made it, I know because I'm speaking to right now with refugees coming from war zone places, that there's so much guilt they have because yes, they're happy they made it, but
mm,
also they
mm.
left people behind, and then there's so much complexity involved. So yeah, it was beautiful to see in this film, and you could see there's a lot of genuine feelings in it, that it goes beyond just a typical role, which is
Yeah, yeah,
considering that this is such a typical studio like film. That's what makes this unique, that this is like a template movie, technically what the studio trying to do, that they made like hundreds of these,
yeah,
but this is the
yeah.
one somewhat made from the uniqueness and molded into this classic, that it just somehow elevated itself for it actually supposed to be. They don't meant to make this incredible war movie, because that's the beauty about it is as well, right? That it's a war movie without having any battle scenes and
Yeah.
gore and death and stuff, but it's still there's so much.
We got death.
I mean, yeah, you got some of it, yeah.
Man got shot, Zalan.
Little ceilings and stuff, and yeah, you got some of those.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to watch, I mean, a World War II movie made during it, and
In the middle of it,
I,
right?
Well, I think,
yeah,
and this is one of I think one of the important things about this film that I don't think is discussed that much. That I don't think it is so much a war film. I mean, I don't think it is at all. It just, circumstantially is taking place during a war. I think because it's a play, originally it's a play, right? And at the heart of it, I think at the heart of the film is what most plays have at the heart of their scripts, in that it's almost less about the narrative, it's about the dialogue. And I think that's what elevates this film so much, because, I mean, we've already said different lines from this film already. You know, here's looking at you, kid, we'll always have, like, all of these amazing things feel like they come straight out of a play script. And I think, Chris, you said earlier that it almost feels so long because there is just so much dialogue, but it's all weighted and it's all so rich, which lends itself to Humphrey and to Ingrid. But you kind of, for me, it almost rather feels less like a war film and more like just a character study, and that they are just these characters that have been, you know, just put straight into these circumstances. And I just think that's really quite fascinating, especially given that this is, you know, from 42.
I think you're completely right.
Yeah.
I think it
Also,
was
this
interesting.
movie-
Don't you think that the uniqueness about it is that it wasn't meant to be a war film in terms of what you completely right, but because of the legacy and then what happened afterwards, kind of created something, you know, like, because you made this film, you know, in the middle of the war, and then sort of like what those characters all sent out to do. They literally, Laszlo is going to America to start a rebellion, and literally in real life, a year later, that's what, you know, what happened. America got into the war and stuff. So it's that's the beauty about it. It is where you look at it, how it's aging, and it's like a fine wine. You always find things about it that probably they not even intended to do, but it just somehow it just turned out to be through the course of history, and you know, the incredible one-liners, as you mentioned, that it's just molded this into something else.
Timing, circumstance, and world events. Yeah.
yeah.
What were you going to say, Hannah?
That you guys are talking about the dialogue. Well, it's based on an unproduced stage play that was written in 1940. So it does have that thing. And I know when you make an adaptation, you know, you don't really keep all the bones of it. But I do think centralized, not I've never read it because it's called Everybody Comes to Rick's. But in the film, at least, I do think of it more as a moral dilemma. I feel like that's the primary plot, is it? It's like the overall conflict is an internal one for Rick and for Ilsa, because they have to choose between themselves, like their own personal desires and motivations, and choosing something bigger than themselves. They were trying to they were choosing each other when they fell in love in Paris. She thought that she'd become a widow, that her husband had died in a concentration camp, and they had hid their marriage because she knew she's the one that kept him going, in an essence, like in that partnership of theirs. But by the end of it, they are both choosing, in essence, something larger than themselves, because Rick chooses to take a stance, which is interesting as him being the American character as well. And then later on, America deciding to participate in the war at the very end, because he stayed as neutral for so long. And Ilsa for choosing beyond her love. I never questioned her motivations. Like, I didn't find any duplicity in her character. I think it's just we see her in real time going through it and feeling confused and not knowing how to choose, because choosing to continue and move forward with Laszlo is also to choose that his revolution and his journey seeking justice continues as well, because she understands that it's important. But I think that's what makes it all the more bittersweet, is that they have this opportunity for potentially a brief romance. Like, if she stayed in Casablanca with Rick, I'm sure their relationship would have been a very passionate reunion, but probably very brief. And to want to choose, you know, romantic sense to have it, even for how little you can have it. That's the sacrifice. And then to live out your life,
Right.
probably knowing he's going to die. Will, I can see
No,
you're on the edge of your seat.
I think you've just
I want to
you
hear
summed
it.
it like perfectly, and I've been going to say this, and Chris will sigh because he's probably thinking, how many times does Will want to mention this film? But I always draw a comparison. You know what film I'm going to mention. I'm going to do it. I always draw a comparison between that dynamic you've just mentioned here in Casablanca and to Mia and Sebastian's in La La Land. In that these two characters could choose to be together, and you're right. I think it would be passionate and beautiful, much like me and Sebastian, if they were going to, continue their relationship. But do they ultimately get what they want? Mia wants to be a successful actress, and Sebastian wants to have, his own jazz cafe. Oh my God, it's like Casablanca. I think that's a really wonderful thing that because I think as audience members, certainly I was watching it, there is an element of like, oh, just stay together. But then there is like, what is the best for them? What do they want? What do you want? And it's a conflict. Almost every other second is a different opinion. But I think that's what makes it such a beautiful ending, as I think with La La Land as well, which again, I'm sure Chris is probably bored about me speaking about La La Land. But I just think that, I think that's what makes this such a powerful thing. I absolutely think you nailed it. That dynamic between these, that love story is the powerful thing about the film for me.
Yeah. By the way, that's what Hannah does. She tends to just nail it. Honestly. I think exactly what you're both saying, and what you're saying as well, Will. I think it makes that line of "we'll always have Paris" hit so hard. Yeah. My God, what a line! Yeah. It's so bittersweet. Exactly that word that you said. Yeah.
It's like the.
Is that your favorite one? I mean, I just wanted to ask because there's so many. Do you have a favorite line?
God.
Like, it's the most quoted film of all time. Like, I think there is,
right.
famous quotes. There is, I think there's probably 6 or 7 in the top 100.
I think it's either that, Zalan, or it's the other one right at the end where he says something like, "The problems of us three don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world."
Great.
Oh,
I think.
Wait, yeah. I want to hear everyone's favorite.
Yeah, let's do it.
I need to hear everyone's favorite film. Okay.
For me, my favorite line is, "We'll always have Paris," and that's because I think everyone in the world has their own version of that. It's a universal thing without it being universal. Like, everyone has that one person that we could turn around to and say, "We'll always have Paris." And I think that is just like, that's the bit that gets, I mean, it's like a knife in you, isn't it? You watch it and you think, oh, I should call them. Don't. But it's a beautiful line, and it conjures up so many, just gorgeous like imagery. So that for me that's the one.
Yeah, so well said. Zalan, what's yours?
I mean, to be honest, it's not the line itself, but it's the way he delivers it. Humphrey in this one is just so much sadness in it, and when he says like, of all the gin joints and all the towns in the world, she walks into mine. And it's just the way he said, there's so much in that, the way, the tone and everything, that I was just like, oh, this is, like it's if especially if you ever been in that situation that, like had sort of similar feelings about, maybe the love interest not working out, or just seeing, an ex or someone, there's so many things that people can relate to it. But there are some very good funny ones as well. Like there are, we talk about the supporting characters as well, but I think there's a one about when he's talking about gambling and stuff.
Don't steal mine, Zalan.
Yeah.
I love it.
What's yours, Hannah?
Okay, mine is. I was like, oh no, Zalan. I think Zalan's gonna say what it is. Mine is. I'm shocked to find there's gambling here.
That's it. That's probably my
Ah.
second one. Perfect. I mean, that's perfect. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
humor in this is so fun. Like, I feel like that's the thing. Like, they didn't know they were gonna make a big classic. It's just like another thing that the
Mhm.
studio's turning out. A lot of rewrites. Like, how are we gonna end it? And that's sometimes the best thing. But I love it. It's just such a whole. I feel like this film has a lot of like the great lighting, the traditional lighting I think of when I think of classic film, classic Hollywood. I don't think
Mm.
like the score is anything groundbreaking, but it's such a solid testament to what the sound of that era was and what the
Mhm.
mastery of
Mhm.
understanding like the mastery of that of like when you're just really good at your craft. It's
Yeah.
it's a really great package. But the
Yeah,
humor,
totally.
the one-liners you guys talked about earlier. I mean, yeah, they're galore. One-liners galore.
Yeah, and I mean, how could it not win the Oscar for best screenplay? How could it not? And it did, and deservedly so. And I'm glad that you mentioned that line because I think Claude Rains is my favorite actor in the movie as Captain Renault. I think he
Mm,
is fucking
love him.
wonderful,
Oh,
wonderful.
would that be the character you'd like to play?
Yes,
Actually, question for
yeah.
everyone. Yeah, especially given your
Mm,
backgrounds.
mm.
Who would you want to play in this?
Yeah. Okay. That's always a great question because there's who you want to play, and then
Mm.
there's who you'd probably end up playing, right?
Oh yeah, you're the cast for you as an artist like, to express like to really fill it out instead of thinking of the casting person. I'd love to know what you would be interested in exploring.
Oh God. I mean, okay. I'll be honest with you. I reckon I could play Rick. I would like to play Rick, and I reckon I could play Rick, but I would love to play Captain Renault. That would be the challenge. That would be me stretching and seeing what range I have. Yeah. What about yourself, Will? I'm so curious.
Uh, um, I'm trying to think of a funny response to that. No, I'll just play. I'll just play Sam. I'll just play on the piano. No, I think for me, because I'm a narcissist and I want to be the main person in everything, it would have to be Rick. But in all seriousness, I just think that dilemma of what is the best for someone and what do you want, that conflict. I just think it's a very human experience. You know, we are like the only creatures I think that have that. Every other animal just acts on impulse and nature, and we don't all the time. And I think, yeah, why not explore more of that pain? Because that sounds great for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does feel like the older we get, the more years go by, the more life experience we have, the closer we get to Rick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like in 15 years' time, we could probably play Rick quite well based on who we've loved and lost in our lives and what we can bring
Yeah.
to that performance.
I think,
you know?
what would I have more fun? Well, I mean, even the word fun is misleading, but you know, do I wish I could go back to being a teenager so I could be in like Superbad? Yes, absolutely, because life would just be a little bit easier, wouldn't it? But I think, you know, I think life just in general is about feeling both like extreme highs and extreme lows, and I think just the dynamics between those two characters, Ilsa and Rick, I think that allows it really easily because of, as we said, just a wonderful written screenplay. So yeah, I mean, for me, it'd have to be that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I would love to play Captain Renault. I don't know if I could. Well, yeah, of course I could if I really put my mind to it. But you could tell watching him, right, that this is a man of the stage. You could tell he's a theater actor. You know, it felt to me like he had slightly more panache to him, you know, and
Well, I
and
think
and I didn't realize, and then only looking him up did I realize, yes, he was the son of a very famous British stage actor called Frederick Rains. Um, and I think Claude Rains served in the war, if I'm not mistaken. No, that was World War One. He served in World War One. um, yeah, absolutely incredible. I think it's the first film I've ever seen him in. It's one of those performances that jumped out at me to such an extent where I was like, I want to watch. I want to watch more of Rains. I want to see what he did. Never won an Oscar, but was nominated 4 times for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Casablanca, Mr. Skeffington, never heard, and Notorious, which is, yeah, another big movie, Notorious. I've heard of it. Isn't that a Hitchcock film? Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
and that's
Um,
Ingrid in it as well, right?
it's Ingrid again.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Um, yeah, amazing. Born in Clapham, he's a London actor, and to see where he went in his career, even then, you know, to the upper echelons of Hollywood, that's incredible, absolutely incredible. Um,
I'm
and yeah, you know, so you have Conrad. Sorry, Zelen, you
I'm
go
just
for it.
going to say, like, I really love that we're giving him flowers here because, of course, everyone is talking about, Elisa and Rick character, but I think the relationship between Rick and him, this sort of bromance in the film, they're just as fascinating to me in this film. Then, obviously, there's a love triangle and Victor Laszlo, and then but there's this element of it as well, which when I saw it for the third time, like that's when I'm not just like, oh my god, this is really drives the film, not just the three main characters, but
Yeah,
he's kind of like
yeah,
a little glue, and then
Yeah.
maybe that's what elevates it to a higher level because we're not talking about just the three. There's other players involved in here.
Yeah.
yes,
Sam as
exactly,
well,
exactly.
obviously. Sam, such a good, like there's a history
Oh my
in
god.
Paris, and it's there's so many iconic elements, isn't
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like Rick and Sam's history is just lip service. It feels like there is an actual past, a shared history there, just in their behavior with each other. At one point, Rick, he's drunk and he's sitting at the bar and he knocks over a glass or a bottle. And Sam just walks over and just writes the glass on the table. And it's like, it feels like a natural, their rapport is so earned. That's the word I'm looking for. It's earned. Yeah,
it? The
lovely.
loyalty. He stays with
The
you, right?
loyalty.
Like when he's drinking, and it's like, oh, I'm not leaving. I'm staying with you now.
Yeah.
Okay. If you decide to stay, then you make me stay as well. And it's
Mm.
those are the elements when that yeah, like just gives a little bit of extra to the film. And the writing is,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no, this script has no fat. Like there's not a moment when you think, despite that there's a little bit slow pace, but you cannot say that, okay, every scene has something in it that keeps the story going forward, and it's not easy to do, especially I'm not even a level of I could dream of as a screenwriter, but you do write, and then when you try to put some conventions, and you feel it as well when you read back your own things, like, okay, just something doesn't flow here and stuff, and when something flows like
Yeah.
this, that it's quite
Yeah.
unique.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, I mean, and to what you were saying as well, uh, Zaylan, with just, well, I can't remember who was saying it, but just the level of experience everyone brings to it, and like modern day for them at the time, they're considering what the world is going through, everything that they're able to bring to that role, and this incredible influx of European talent, all converging to, like we all said, no one, they didn't know this was going to be a hit. It's lightning in a bottle. And look at the faces of these people. Look at them. Peter Lorre, who, again, I didn't realize he was Hungarian. Is he Hungarian, Zalan? I mean, massive, massive actor. I had no idea he was even in this thing. And I'm so glad you mentioned that relationship, Zalan.
It's a lot of
He
Hungarian
is.
American, like it's
loads, yeah. And talking about Captain Renault and Rick's relationship, I mean, the film ends on that line. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I mean, Jesus, if this film was made today, there'd be a fucking sequel, wouldn't there? They wouldn't be able to help themselves.
Yeah.
That would have been the post-credit scene.
It would have been a franchise. If there would have been a franchise, there would have been Paris. There would be a film about Paris, right? Like, just,
we'll always have Texas. Yeah, that would be the ending of. That would be the last line of the third movie. Oh God. But yeah, so that, I guess, that kind of leads us on to the writing. It's by Philip G. Epstein, Julius J. Epstein, and Howard Koch. And they all won the Oscar for this. And what when you mentioned, Will, that it was based on a play, you can almost tell that, right? Just in terms of like the almost, not quite, but almost one setting for the movie. That whole opening that just takes place in Rick's for like 15, 20 minutes is incredible. You're just like, look at the set that they've built. Look at this whole world. Look at the people in the far background. They filled this, but look at the costumes. It's amazing. It must have been such an amazing set, such an amazing place to work. So yeah,
amazing for the movie as well, because it's I love that thing. I love the beginning because it's just such a, as you say, like transports you really into that world, showing you these characters. But we already talking about Rick without seeing him.
Yes.
So we building up all this character, and then even we don't even see his face first. It's kind of like what you do now, how you build a superhero. Like, oh my God, let's see. And then there comes a superhero with a cape, and he doesn't wear a suit because he's wearing all white in the beginning. But it's again, like, it's very striking, and I don't know if you guys managed to see it ever this in a cinema, but when I rewatched it a few years ago, where was the 80th 80? Can you believe it? It's 83 years old, this movie. But it's incredible. The cinematography, as you mentioned, Chris, it's a very simple directing. There's no flashy things about it. It's little panning, little dolly shots and stuff. It's very simple design, but still the shadows and stuff. And I don't know if the remastering just made it so unique, but it's gorgeous to watch in a big screen. It's really,
I can imagine
the way he plays around with the mood of the film, when there's a somber mood, and it's a bit, and even if his outfit, like he's wearing white and then he's changing. I don't know if it was really deliberate or I'm reading too much into it, but that those elements, when you watch it, it's it's just fascinating.
Oh, I would have loved to have watched this on the big screen. Truly, I can only imagine. And and having that shared experience, watching it with people, yeah. Oh, I wish. Well, we'll wait for the 90th anniversary when you put it on again, and I'll make sure to be there.
It's actually, we might play it some points very soon. Because it's funny that we talk about this film, but I don't know if it's gonna happen now because it's a lot of licensing stuff. But I actually wanted to do an Ingrid Bergman season at Phoenix.
Ooh-wee.
Because that could be, you could show Gaslight, Notorious, Casablanca.
Oh my God.
My favorite one, Autumn Sonata, which she's acting with Bergman, the film director. So they had like they actually managed to find, they had a film together.
The
Late,
Bergmans found each other.
yeah,
That's
the
good.
Bergsman found each other, and then she's incredible in that one as well. Autumn Sonata is
Ooh.
such a movie. Um, but yeah, it's maybe. I mean, there is. I'll let you know if the Prince Charles usually screens it, and if imagine if we
Hmm.
found a 35 millimeter copy of that one, that would be a movie
Oh,
to watch.
that sounds very exciting. Oh, I do hope that comes to
We're
pass. So
sending you
yeah,
plane
please.
ticket, Hannah. We're sending you plane tickets.
Thank you.
We'll send you some transit visas, some.
I I would absolutely I really do want to travel out there and meet you guys.
Yeah, I know you're planning to do it at some point. When you do come down, we need to take a trip to see Zalan and watch a film at Phoenix for sure.
Absolutely,
Have
absolutely.
to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, great. So yeah, 3 writers on it. Philip G. Epstein, not nominated for any Oscars. He did write the movie Mr. Skeffington from 1944 that Claude Rains was also in. Julius J. Epstein, I don't know if they're any relation or not. Um, he went on to be nominated for a few things: Four Daughters, Pete and Tilly, and Reuben Reuben. Oscar nominee for those movies. Never heard of him. Howard Koch. He only was nominated for one other movie 2 years before this, called Sergeant York, which I think it's a John Huston movie. No, it's a Howard Hawks movie, Sergeant York. I've heard of it, with Gary Cooper. Um, so these are big writers, and yeah, we've spoken about the writing. It's incredible. And lastly, the director Michael Curtiz, massive filmmaker. I don't think I've seen almost any of his work. I know there's one movie of his in particular I really wanted to see. I'll see if I can bring it up. But Oscar nominated for 5 films: Captain Blood, Four Daughters, Angels with Dirty Faces, Yankee Doodle Dandy, and this one, which he won for. And yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I'm getting him confused with another director. I may be, but I thought he directed a movie, I think, like a war movie, like it was based. No, I think, you know what? I think I'm wrong. I think I'm maybe thinking of another filmmaker, maybe John Frankenheimer or something. No, is it The Breaking Point? It might be. I'm not sure. He did The Breaking Point. It's 1950. Anyway, Criterion basically released this movie, and the poster looked insane. But yeah. Anyway, amazing filmmaker, and yeah, we've spoken about his work on this. Very simple. At the end, he gets quite dynamic with it. It's amazing. When it comes to the cinematography and the production design as well, one thing I really loved was outside Rick's. You see that tower with the searchlight, and throughout the movie, you see the spotlight just swinging around the place, and it's it's such an incredible choice for the black and white photography, for the lighting. Whenever you're indoors and you sort of see the sweep of that searchlight through the slats of the windows, but it adds to this incredible sense of being hunted, you know, and eventually that searchlight is just going to stop, and it's going to be placed on you. You know what I mean? I think that is, as a foreboding piece of uh, just part of the scenery, the production design. Wow, I thought I loved that fucking searchlight, man. Thought it was so cool.
That's a great element.
But don't you think that's one of the reasons why this one works? Because and no disrespect, but an American director or someone who maybe doesn't understand the psyche of a refugee, he couldn't have made those elements. And obviously, like that's why the director's intention was to cast those people. And apart from the main stars, like the lot of the extras were actual refugees.
Mhm.
Like they all European expats who ended up in America. So for them, it was important, and yeah, that's the reason why when they tearing up during the La Marseillaise, those are not acting; those are people who
Mhm.
literally singing it from their heart. And that's what it makes it unique. What you mentioned, those elements, those things that you see, those shadows, and it's probably that those are the things that elevates it
Yeah.
from just a great script
Yes.
and great adaptation of a screenplay, like a play, and working with all these incredible talents, and somehow it just slotted beautifully together.
You're right, Zalan. Those are the touches. Yeah. Who knows what someone else could have brought to it, but those are the touches that Curtiz adds. Yeah, and it's amazing. That song, what is that song? Because I know it, I'm familiar with it, but I couldn't place it. What they sing at Rick's in defiance of the, what is it?
I think it's the French national
Yeah, the
anthem.
La Marseillaise. That was
It's the,
yeah, the French. That was
it's the French.
yeah, French national anthem. But that at the time,
Gotcha.
that at the time, that was sort of the song, the anti-Nazi song, that was representing
Right.
rebellion and
Revolutionaries.
revolution.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Okay.
that's always a couple of songs like that it's quite unique.
Right. Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What a moment. What a moment that was. And that's when Curtiz chooses to go to close-ups on a lot of the patrons in the bar, and you see the emotional impact that it that it has on everybody. It's so stirring. Yeah, it's quite wonderful. Hannah, if you whenever you have to leave, just let us know, and
Sure.
yeah, that's no
Well,
worries.
I mean, I can't believe it took us this long, even because I forgot to talk about that scene. I think it's such a phenomenal scene. It's definitely like it's rousing. Another way
Mm,
where like an art form, a song, I know it's of a national like identity, but that unites people, reminds us of our histories, whatever those may be, and also another
mm,
way without it creates conflict, but it's not like an actual like physical violent way of resisting, but it is a
mm.
form of resistance. It's kind of like a call to one another when they're standing, and you see those close-ups, Chris, as you highlighted. Just a reminder of how something like an art, like a song, can really
Yeah.
instill hope in people, and why it's important. I think it's a very, as an American having this American experience right now, I thought it was an interesting time to be able to revisit Casablanca.
Mm,
But you're
mm-hmm.
right. Song's such a powerful thing, like that you could. There are some times when you could put a history and a sense and a feeling in a 3.5 minute song that probably captures more than a history book
Yeah.
could do. And then it's not just this song, but there are like there's so many like famous songs, or like if you're in a rally or a whatever rally, but then if someone starts singing, you shall overcome, and everyone starts singing, it becomes such an incredible communal experience that is just
Mm,
you get goosebumps just of the thought of it. And when you see people experiencing, whether you relate to that specific topic or like feeling or not, you could see. And when you see this in movies, is it reminded me of I'm not sure if you guys seen Paths of Glory, Stanley Kubrick. um
no,
that's
never did.
it's
No.
probably the best war movie ever made, in my personal opinion.
Mm,
And they have this scene in there when it's the war movie, Germany versus America, but then there's this scene when there's this German person singing, and then at that moment in time, all the soldiers who watching, they all engrossed to that experience, and they forget that they their enemies, like that is just so when you have that experience in an art form, um that is just a fascinating thing, and it's good to see it like having that kind of an impact, because within the film as well, it is quite like a famous scene.
yeah, I need to see it. I really love to. Yeah, but it's funny because it actually reminded me of another film, Judgment at Nuremberg,
Hmm.
Yeah. And I remember there's that one moment in the film where they're in Germany. Obviously, I don't know where, if they're in Berlin, but the judge, played by Spencer Tracy, he's sitting in this bar, and I mean, this city is destroyed; it's rubble, and people are having to live among this. And they're in this bar. All of a sudden, that people start erupting into song. I don't know what the song is, but they're banging their mugs of ale, and they are just chanting and singing. And it's the German community who are as one, their voices just becoming as one, and it's so uplifting amidst this absolute devastation that they have to live amongst, and the remnants of the evil that's taken place there. It's wonderful. Yeah, that's
Is
probably
that
one
the
of the best
Marlene Dietrich
examples.
one? Is that the Marlene Dietrich
Yes,
singing? Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah. I don't know the
yes, that
title,
one. Yeah,
but yeah, it's yeah, fascinating.
so good. And the thing about this movie is, I see echoes of Casablanca in everything we consume today.
Mm.
I wouldn't be surprised if, when they did in Judgment at Nuremberg, if they thought about this moment in the movie where they sing that song in defiance. I think about movies like Inception. Inception, there's echoes of in Rick's character, in this man with a haunted past who just wants to get home. He just wants to get back to the States and he can't. Um, Pearl Harbor, when you think about that love triangle that they have in that movie, and where she's coming from. Lost. I had to bring up Lost, didn't you?
You mentioned it somehow, of
But
course.
I had to. I will find a way. But
Star
the ending of
Wars,
Lost.
yes, Star Wars as well. You could say, New Hope,
Why not?
New Hope. Like
Yeah. Yes.
a little bit of Han Solo in Rick, don't you think?
Sure. I see that. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I just think the influence that this movie has had on storytelling for generations is evident. It's there to see, even if it's subconscious. I think that it's so iconic that it really, for anyone listening, what I mean with Lost is the ending where a character is sacrificing
Mm.
themselves to let others just take the plane and go, and in seeing the plane leave, it just brings echoes back for me. Listen, that's probably, maybe Casablanca was the furthest thing from their minds when they constructed the whole in terms of imagery, but it's there for me. I see it, but
But you could be
yeah,
influenced not a direct way as well. You could have been influenced by something that was already influenced by, because if you make
already.
sense, what I mean?
Right,
So that
right.
that it's kind of
Yes,
like you write something and you're thinking, oh, that sounds like Romeo and Juliet, and you not even consider that, but it's kind of goes back to that kind of storyline, isn't it? So
yeah, that's what do they say? Nothing is original, because it's impossible
yeah.
to be. We're all drawing from something. Yeah. Subconsciously or consciously or otherwise. Um, cool. Any final thoughts on Casablanca, folks?
I'm just glad.
Pretty
I'm
comprehensive.
just glad. I thank you for selecting this really, because I'd love to rewatch it, and it's incredible how relevant it feels, like 80 odd years on. Like like when you watch a
Yeah,
classic, you always expect, and you kind of you even like forgive the fact that they might be aging, or like might not be PC, like Greece, like there's so a lot of problems with it, but you kind of anticipate,
yeah,
like, okay, that was made at the time, so we have to judge it,
yeah,
based on the perimeter of the. But this film is just speaks to. I think I would love to hear what like a modern, like the teenager, the generation of the young generation now, what thinks of this film, because they might be shocked, like, hold on a second, there's so many things I can relate to, not just the war
yeah,
elements, but as you mentioned, Will, that it's a play, and then you have a love triangle. You put a love triangle in the middle of war, it's not an easy thing to like navigate, and but it's done it with humor and wit and
Yes, yes. And yeah, exactly, Zaylin. Yeah, thank you for saying that as well, because this could have been so dreary. This could have been miserable and a slog, but they wisely they fill it with such humor too, such light moments, and that is so essential. It's so clever what they do there. Yeah, you're right. Actually, it feels depressing these days how many older films we watch that still feel too relevant today. It feels like, are we not progressing in life? Are we, is this everything one big circle? Everything just is doomed to repeat itself out again in the same cycles. We recently, Will, watched American History X in this
Edward
film club,
Norton.
and it's like, Jesus, that could be.
Yeah,
Have you seen it?
It's a classic in a different way, but it's still a classic.
Could have been made today. Yeah.
Could it?
Yeah.
Do you
So
think?
Oh mate, with the neo-Nazi, neo-Nazism,
thematically, but would it be as? That's a different conversation. But would it be as good?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah,
we were
knows?
Lucky to have.
It's certainly it's
that creative time almost, where those actors and those directors and those screenplays were being written.
Oh, so true.
It's
so true.
Angry Birds 4.
Yeah, and it's definitely of its time, and I'd completely forgotten that the kid from Terminator 2 is the brother. I was like, fuck, man, he's the kid, who's looking up to Edward Norton, and he looks exactly the same, albeit he's a skinhead now, but he looks exactly the same, and he's great in it. Cool. So shall we do ratings before we announce the next movie? Out of 5, Hannah has sent hers over in the chat. She has said 4 stars for me, not 5, simply because my 5-star films generally move me very strongly. And I agree with that. I don't think I was moved by this movie, but I thought it was good. I initially was happy with a 3.5. But this discussion we've had has elevated it to a straight 4 for me. It's definitely a 4. So me and Hannah are 4. Will, what would you give this out for?
No surprise from me. I think it's a 5-star film for me. I think contextually, given, as we said, like when it was filmed, when it was created, I think it does move me emotionally, and I think that's should be the primary objective of anything artistic, to provoke emotion.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. Zalan?
I think I must agree with Will. The only reason I don't give an exact 5 because I agree with Hannah in a way that I really reserve those that's something that sets some creates something within me, like in a different way, like David Lynch does to me. But I gave a 5-star on Letterboxd, but in this exercise I give a 4.75. So it's in between, it's a it's a 95 out of 100 kind of movie, so which is very high, very high.
Very nice, very nice. Oh well, nicely. Well, that's excellent. So for all of us, very, very highly rated, and that deserves to be. Yeah, thank you, Will, for choosing it. I'm so glad because it gave us an excuse to go back and rewatch this, and for me, I might as well have been watching it for the first time. So I'm glad I did. Good stuff, man. Cool. So the next film, next up in our rotation, is actually chosen by a previous Phoenix Cinema podcast guest, and that guest was Tim Arnold.
Nice! Wow, nice.
Filmmaker, musician, activist, great guy. He chose the movie Wild from 1997, WILDE, as in Oscar Wilde. A film from 1997 directed by Brian Gilbert, starring Stephen Fry, Jude Law, Vanessa Redgrave. I've never seen it. So it's about Oscar Wilde's life after he discovers his homosexuality. So sounds very interesting. And yeah, that's what we'll be watching next. So super excited about that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Maybe lots to discuss. Have you seen it, Zalan?
No, that's great.
Ooh.
Yeah, like because the first Wild, I was thinking like a different film called Wild without the E in the end. So
Just Wild.
yeah.
Are you thinking of the Reese Witherspoon film?
Yes, I was like, oh,
I love that movie.
But I was like, a bit weird choice for Tim, so it makes sense to. Yeah.
right. Oh, honestly, Zalan, we watched Wild in our other film club, and that's a 5-star for me. By the way, I love that movie.
Wild films usually work for me. Like I love what's the film Into the Wild as well. Because I love the book and that's my favorite soundtrack of all time as well.
Really? Oh, I haven't
Eddie
seen.
Vedder. I love Pearl Jam and Eddie Vedder. You could listen to that soundtrack on its own, and it's just it's beautiful. It's just such a treasure. It's a perfect Christmas present for your ears.
Really? Wow. Okay. Is that so? It's directed by Sean Penn.
Yeah, but the soundtrack, Eddie Vedder, it's fascinating. You could listen to it, and then you kind of gives you an idea of the movie on itself. So if you've not seen it, just listen to the soundtrack and see what you think.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'll do that. I'll add it to the list. It's a long list.
I'll add it to the list for sure. So we're starting early. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Or maybe you might pick it in here one day, and then it will have to jump the entire list for me. It'll have to naturally. All right, lovely. Well, thank you both for joining me today, and Hannah as well. Thank you all so much. It's been a real pleasure talking this film with you, spending the time with you. I hope to see you on the next one. And yes, until then, this is the Phoenix Cinema Podcast Film Club. We hope you enjoyed listening. Do watch the movie Wild ahead of time if you want to listen along with us, or not. Completely up to you. Take care. Happy watching.
Mahalo. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And when two lovers woo, they still say I love you. On that you can rely. No matter what the future brings as time goes by. Moonlight and love songs are never out of date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy and hate. Woman needs man, and man must have his